This video is proudly sponsored by Newtype. Tools, accessories, model kits, these guys have it. Hop over to newtypehq.com and use the link below to help this channel out for future builds. In my many years of making content onto this YouTube channel, I have always strived to really improve and better my art skill to try unique and exciting kits. But this kit by far will definitely push myself to the next limit into the world of kit bashing. Stand by for Titanfall. In the time when first-person shooters were becoming heavily saturated in the marketplace, one bold company by the name of Respawn Entertainment jumped into the world by creating their own unique IP with giant mechs. And in their first success of Titanfall 1, we finally got Titanfall 2. And I can honestly tell you right now that Titanfall 2, in my opinion, is still by far the best first-person shooter that's out there. Really on par with the Call of Duty games in the past, followed by the Halo games with the storytelling element. This game was above it all. And what made the game really fantastic was its art direction, its character interaction, the soundtrack, the sound design, the overall just immersion into this world was really great, and I just love that aspect of Titanfall 2. So as the years have gone by, many third-party companies have taken a stab at the Titanfall license. We had Funko Pop doing their version, followed by Tom McFarlane, but not even 3A would get a chance to actually take a stab at building the all-time favorite Titan BT-7274, the Vanguard class Titan. And I am just absolutely in love with this design. There are some elements of Gundam, but there are some parts of it's kind of like Robotech, a little bit of Mech Warrior squash between like Robojock. And for those selected few that know exactly what Robojox is, congratulations, you are just as old as I am. But that's besides the point. We need to talk about the upper body. Since there are dozens upon dozens of Gundam model kits in the marketplace, the upper body is not going to be the hardest part at all. The hardest part is really going to pull off the iconic chicken legs for BT's look. And as I was so happy scrolling through my YouTube community feed, I came across once again the Gundam Talk Show review of the male Kobu 148 scale model kit. Now I was quite aware that there was actually one in the marketplace, like a high grade type, but I had no idea that they were going to do a 1/48 scale, and my brain immediately started brainstorming ideas on how I'm going to pull out this iconic look. So I started immediately brainstorming kits that I can actually afford that were like under $80. So the Kobu kit, not a problem, easy purchase, but the upper body was definitely going to be a challenge. I didn't want to waste anything on a P Bandai kit, nor did I want to spend anything close to like $150. So the GN Sniper 2 was an excellent candidate for the upper body and the section where I can mount the head. Now there are some access plastic pieces that are on the Kobu model kit that I'm going to have to manually remove it, but that's not going to be a problem. The idea is to make sure everything is stationary and locked into place so that way I can pull off some dynamic poses to do like a front and back-to-back side crunch. But the most concerning aspect of this kit bash is I have no idea what I'm doing. I am essentially working with leftover kits that I have in my backlog to really pull off the iconic BT look. It is challenging, it is stressful, and at the same time it is an absolutely exciting time to really do something unique because I absolutely love Titanfall, and I'm going to give it my 110% to really pull this off for you dudes and dudettes. Okay, now that I got most of the access plastic off, it's now time to connect the upper body to the lower body, but I have one concerning factor, and that is the upper body. Since I don't want to glue it into place, I want to make sure that there is like a peg that I can sneak on there so that way it can actually pull off a side-to-side swivel. Since I'm going to be using the lower part of the GN kit to actually lock that into place, I'm going to need to do some custom cutting to make sure it's stationary in the upper body and lower body of the Kobu model kit. Woo! Okay, after spending close to 3 hours trying to pull off this very difficult effect, I am happy to say that I'm able to do a nice front, side-to-side swivel on the upper body. So, this part's done. There are some access areas that are definitely need to be covered with some random black or gray pieces, so I'll end up implementing that later on in the build. But the biggest concerning part on this build is definitely going to be pulling off BT's head, aka the Surge kit. Now this is actually going to be really crucial because one, I was very fortunate to find a forearm piece from my 00 Quanta kit to use as a template for BT's eye, but the biggest concern part is going to be the circular sections that sit on the side of the eye. And thanks to a good buddy of mine on eBay, they sent me an Ironblood Orphan kit that will actually pull off the part. This is pretty much the stationary part that sits in the very front part of the torso. That's pretty much going to be the template for the whole entire head for BT's effect. Okay, now comes the most challenging part. I need to position these yellow pieces both on the sides of this particular section, but I need to do some custom drilling. So I'm pretty much going to be eyeballing this section by actually doing a circular cutout on both sides of this head, and then I'm going to use a Dremel to funnel that section out to create a nice clean cut. Okay, so now that I got a rough concept on how I'm going to be positioning BT's head, the next challenging part is putting an area that circumferences the back part of the head. Now the wonderful candidate I'm going to be using is like the forearm piece that's on the Gundam Virtue model kit. Now as you can see here, it's a great kind of fit, but it's way too low and it's gonna make the head look like it's in a weird slouching position. So I had the bright idea of using the front skirt of the Virtue kit to put on both sides of this piece to create a nice perfect dome look. Again, this isn't gonna be 100% accurate to how BT looks on the video game, so this is gonna be my artistic rendition on how I'm gonna pull off BT look. Another area that's gonna be really concerning and actually at the same time crucial is the back part of the BT's head. I'm gonna be using part from Ironblood Orphan as a way to interconnect these pieces, that way they can stay close to one another. This is not only going to actually make the effect look more legit, but at the same time it's going to make it look great. Another area that I'm going to be implementing it later on in the video is both side sections of the Ironblood Orphan kit onto the BT's forearms. Another area that's going to be very problematic is going to be the neck. So I had the bright idea of using the GN Sniper's forearm piece as the neck section. So with this extra range of motion, I can actually move BT's head slightly forward to get a nice front look, and in the right kind of position, he can swivel his head looking upward, looking downward, can look side to side, but Here's the downside. Since that area is going to be pretty compact, I'm going to get still very limited range of mobility around the head, but it's still the thought that counts. As for the backpack unit, I'm going to be doing this off screen because this is very complex stuff, but definitely going to be the most concerning area is the additional arms that sit in the very back of the Titan, and that's going to be housing the additional rocket launcher or spare section to house the assault rifle or the sword. Now, the one thing I like about this kit when I did a rough construction is the iconic look of BT is looking absolutely beautiful. Again, this is my artistic rendition of how it is. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but the important thing is really capturing the heart and soul on what BT7 looks like if this was like an upgraded version of BT. So this is what I'm basically going to be implementing. And as you can see here, I still get a great range of movement looking left to left, side to side, but here's the thing, all these pieces aren't glued down, so I'm going to lose a great deal of that range of motion once everything's locked into place. So in the meantime, these pieces are ready to go and ready to be painted. As for the main head, I took the liberty of using some random photo etching pieces to carve those weird holes on the side to side of BT's head, so this is ready to go and ready to be painted. I might do some modifications down the road. As for remaining renders for the arms and the back, this is part of the Kobu kit, and I want to do some modifications where I can house and mount a sword on the back section, but the rocket launcher is definitely going to be the concerning part, or the shoulder rocket launcher in this case. I ended up using the Gundam 00 Quanta from Gundam Breakers to see if I could pull off the look, but the look itself is not authentic like how you would see in the game. It's not a blocky or square shape. I want to use something that's very relevant to this particular genre, so I'm going to be purchasing another Kobu kit in the future to pull off that look. Now the challenging part of this kit is going to be building the legs. Since the legs are once again going to be excellent candidate to pull off the chicken-like leg features, I'm going to need to do some modifications around the actual feet themselves. The feet from the Kobu kit are pretty standard and pretty bland, but to really add that extra level of detail and custom Kitbash flair, I'm going to do some heavy modifications to really pull off that look. I'm going to use some spare pieces from the Virtue kit that really pull off the run front and side to side of the knee sections of this kit, followed by a handful of random pieces from the GN and the GM Sniper 2. This is going to be for certain areas around the feet. Now to pull off those little ball peg sections around the front toe, I'm going to cut off these side pegs with 2 snippers, so that way I can use some spare other runners to connect them to the very bottom part of the feet to pull off that iconic look. So now comes the next challenging part, and that's going to be putting off those little rigid sections on the front knee. I'm going to use some polystyrene pieces that I purchased from the good old folks from Burbank Hobbies, and then cut them into the same kind of dimensions as I can possibly to pull off that nice little ridge look. I'm going to cut them down to size into 3, and that way I can glue them onto the surface once it's done drying. I'm going to do some custom painting afterwards. Alright, Alright, sweet! The polyurethane worked like a charm for both knee sections. Now that the legs are fully done, it's now time to tackle the next challenging part, and that's going to be the arms and the hands. Now, my original plan was to use the actual arm sections from the GN Sniper just to cut time short, but after really doing some heavy research, I noticed that BT's arms are big. They have a little bit more of a strong and swollen like forearm structure. So that's why I ended up going back to the GN Master Grade. I used these particular runners for the actual Master Chief Kitbash a couple of months back, and these are an excellent candidate to pull off the iconic BT look. Now, it did cost me a little money to buy, but it's absolutely worth to pull off that unique look because it has additional parts that can work really great for this particular inner frame. For example, I ended up installing the peg system from the GN onto the GN Sniper, and it worked great, but when I tried using parts from the GN onto the GN Sniper, as you can see here, the piece just starts acting really loose and it eventually would fall off. So I'm gonna end up taking off the original piece for this particular mosuit and then install the GN pieces onto the GN Sniper 2, and that way it can lock it into place. But there's also another little concern section. The one on the left fit in there like a glove. The one on the right is still slightly loose and can be problematic when it comes to putting this guy in dynamic poses. So I had the bright idea of using some good old-fashioned Tamiya masking tape, particularly the 6mm tape. Now I'm just gonna put just enough there to where it can create a great enough thickening to that particular section, and then when I get it just at the right kind of angle, I'm gonna gently maneuver into place, and that right there is gonna be a nice little tight fit. Perfect what it's gonna really pull off. Definitely don't need to compromise anything. But now comes the most challenging part, and that is going to be the forearms and the iconic hands. Now the hands for the G are great, but they're too damn small. Now why do I say it's too small? BT hands and its proportions are greatly over exaggerated, so there has to be a way to really pull off that look. The GN's great, I absolutely love the hands, but with hands this small, it's going to be greatly out of proportion and it's not going to coincide well with the whole entire kit. But fortunate enough for me, I actually have an excellent candidate to pull out the BT hands. I'm going to be using my very first perfect grade Unicorn Gundam. Since this kit is just taking up unnecessary space and collecting dust, I want to use these additional runners for future Kitbash projects. And as you can see here, I can not only get great range of articulation, but I can pull off the classic BT thumbs up.
Looking back, was there something between you and I? I've always wondered it for years, and I'm drunk tonight. Did you mean to drop that pencil by my feet in 7th grade? Did you mean to set your chair right next to mine at the parade? When you'd fix your hair up nice, did you do that for me? Most of the time, I don't even think of you, but almost every other time and place, I do. Only when I'm staring out of windows, or after flipping off a switch when all the light goes. Years have passed, but these memories keep passing by and waving. Call me back when I regret this in the morning goodbye. Did you mean to drive right by my house that night I walked her in? Did you bash all of my exes cause you wanted to be there? We're a couple of losers gonna finally win. Most of the time, I don't even think about you, but almost every other time and place, I do. Only when I'm staring out of windows, or after flipping off a
Okay, now that the hands and forearms are now done, I can put all my energy in working on the leg sections. Now the leg sections aren't going to be that difficult, but since we're talking about installing custom L.E.D lights, that's where the challenge is really going to be really important. Now, the areas that I'm going to really be focusing a lot of my energy on, specific key areas on the main knee, ankle, and the main thigh. These areas are already being custom drilled out thanks to yours truly, but I want to put some fiber optic lighting behind those fiber optic tubings to really make them pop out. Off screen, I'll hit them up with a nice Tamiya flat white so I can help reduce that light diffusion to make them light them up correctly, so that way you can get that weird twinkling effect on the camera.
I'm not trying to convince you, but I'm pretty sure you're the one. But if you don't ever answer, how are we gonna have any fun? Have any fun? Cause I know exactly what you need, but give me your hand, because today is about to slip away. I have tried to beg and plead, but if we can't communicate, something's gotta change. Cause what you need is a way to escape all the crazy commotion. Could you please find a way to display just a trace of emotion? I know we're gonna be okay if you don't keep pushing me away. You got me weak by the way you behave in the face of devotion. Hey, I don't know where you are going, but you surely know the home. I know we're gonna be okay. I would like to go there with you, but you gotta pick up the phone if you don't keep pushing me away. Cause you got a way of locking the door, and you got a way of rocking my world and letting me fall. Letting me fall. And I know you're waiting, but you get bored. And I know you're waiting, aching to do more than nothing at all. Nothing at all. Cause what you need is a way to escape all the crazy commotion. Could you please find a
Alright my dudes and dudettes, we are literally at the home run stretch, but there has been one concerning part of this model kit that has definitely been holding me back for the last 4.5 days, and that is going to be BT's head. Now the head proportions are great, I like what I did with the design, but there is something that is missing. So as I was scrolling through the Mobile Suit Gen instruction manual, I stumbled across this piece. This insignificant piece, and not only that it looks absolutely identical to BT's head, the engraving, the scribing, the dimensions, the aperture, it is absolutely perfect to pull off BT's iconic look. But now I have another challenge. Since the aperture itself is already pre-installed, I need to find a way to actually keep the existing one there. And fortunate enough for me, I have some spare runners from my 00 Quanta full saber kit that I used for my very first Kitbash, which was the Metroid Prime Samus Aran power suit. And the wonderful thing about these clear runners, the dimensions and the shape are absolutely perfect to pull off that monocle eye. Now the biggest challenge, since this piece is wafer thin, I'm gonna need to hit that area with a flat white to help diffuse the light to make it light up correctly. This effect should take no less than about an hour to make it look good, but the additional parts I did in the front, I'm gonna need to disassemble it. Alright, after much trial and error, the head is now finally complete, and now I can put this aside and work on the main skirt and the main body. Off screen, I'm going to be hitting these areas with a nice flat white and a little bit of a military gray, and then once I get the dimensions just right, I'm then going to be gluing these guys into position. Now, I do have one concerning part with this particular skirt section. It is pretty limited, so I probably won't be able to pull off a lot of dynamic poses, so I might end up modifying that off screen. So this time around, I want to try something a little bit different when it comes to the male and female connectors. So in the mid-waist section, I'm going to have two female connectors for the mid bottom and the upper body, so that way it can connect to the upper waist section with a male connector. What this is essentially going to do is going to help me be able to pull this guy off in maybe 3 or 4 dynamic poses. But the key reason why I'm doing this, I just don't want to have the external wire sticking out. It just looks really awkward, and at the same time, if I need to do it in dynamic poses or I need to do some photography, you won't have to look at that weird awkward wire sticking out on the side. Well, alright, the upper body is looking absolutely stellar, and now it's time to install the additional parts like I mentioned earlier on in the video from the Iron Blood Orphan model kit. Now, once again, these pieces are really crucial. I want to actually add a little bit more of a girth and a little bit more of a mass on the side part of this particular Titan. It is optional, but I want to make it look good. The challenging part are going to be the cooling vents on the shoulders of this particular Titan. Now, I was originally going to put them on the side to side, but there's not much shoulder room there, so instead of having these weird wide sections, I'm going to have them perk upward on both shoulder pads on this section of this particular Titan. Not only looks really cool, but at the same time it's going to pull off the dimension just right. And as for the very front part, I'm going to use additional parts from the Iron Blood Orphan model kit to pull off those nice little piston effects in the very front part of the Titan. Okay, now we have finally reached the last assembly on this model kit, and that's actually building the weapon accessories. Now, I really want to try my best to pull off the iconic rifle that BT uses in the video game, so I'm going to be implementing parts from the Kenbu model kit and then splicing together with other parts from another master grade kit that I had in my backlog. I believe it was the Rezel master grade, so I'm going to use this front part of this section right here and then mid parts in the back to really pull off the iconic look. So this was one aspect in the video that I was going to completely leave out, but I figured I've come this far, why not show all my cards on the table and let you guys enjoy the full process. Well, now that all the pieces are fully assembled, it's now time to apply the water slide decals, which once again, I did it off screen because it was very tedious to pull off, but the one area I'm not going to leave out, and that's going to be the weathering and chipping effect. I've already implemented on the assault rifle, but now I want to implement it on the whole entire kit. It's going to be a combination of chipping and at the same time washing and slight heavy weathering on specific key areas, but I definitely want to encapsulate that energy of BT showing some wear and tear in specific key areas like around the legs, the forearms, and even the upper body. But most importantly, as this video is wrapped up, I want to give a huge shout out to the new subscribers and a big thank you to the Patreon supporters that helped me on this rigorous journey. You dudes and dudettes truly are the perfect grade champions on this YouTube channel. Truly you are. And a big thank you to Newtype HQ, Harry. Sorry I haven't been making much Gunpla content, but as you can tell, I am following what I'm really passionate about, and that is just making content for everyone to enjoy and love. But as always, I will see you dudes and dudettes on the next build.